So if you're making a move to the Atlanta area and you're wondering about property taxes, how do they compare to where you're currently living? Well, this video is for you. I'm going to break down what property taxes look like here in the Atlanta area. So stay tuned and make sure you watch till the end, because I'm going to tell you a way to make sure that you can save some money on your property taxes when you move here to the Atlanta area. So let's get after it right now. Hey there, my name is Molly and welcome to my channel. Now let's just get right into it. Let's talk about property taxes. It's not a fun subject because who likes paying property taxes, right? Well, it is just kind of one of those necessary evils to ensure we have paved roads, we have school systems, medical systems, police force. So it's just one of the things that we have to pay for. And it's good to know kind of what you're looking at, because it is an annual expense of owning a home. So it's good to know kind of, can you save on property taxes if you live in one certain area of Atlanta versus another. Now, before I get into the weeds too much, I just want to say that I'm talking about Atlanta and anything ITP, inside the perimeter, inside I-285. I'm not going to get into the metro Atlanta area and talking about the taxes in Cobb County versus Paulding County or Cherokee County. I mean, that would be a really, really long, boring video. So I'm just going to talk about inside the I-285 loop, because that is where I live, work, and play. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so first things first, you're probably just wondering, generally speaking, if I'm moving to Atlanta and I'm purchasing a home, what kind of tax rate am I looking at in the Atlanta area? Well, I looked through a lot of examples of recent sales, pulled up lots of tax records. By the way, you can look up tax records online. You can just Google Fulton County tax records or Dekalb County tax records. Those are the two counties that are inside the 285 loop. And you can look up property taxes that way. If you have a specific address, maybe you're eyeing a certain home to buy, you can look up the property taxes using that address. In any case, I looked at dozens and dozens of examples all day long. It was very boring and very interesting anyway. But it boils down to, here in the Atlanta area, if you're buying a home, expect to pay about 1% of that home's value in property taxes each year. So for example, if you're buying a $500,000 home, you're probably going to spend about $5,000 in property taxes per year. Now, how does that compare to where you are living? I would love to know in the comment section below. Tell me where you are watching this from and what percent of your property's value are you paying in property taxes per year. I would love to hear the different numbers. I looked up kind of what are some of the higher property tax cities in the US, and some of those are like Rochester, New York at 2.4%. There's Hartford, Connecticut at 1.9%, Chicago at 1.9%. And a lot of cities in the Texas area, like Houston, Dallas, they're at 1.6%. So when you compare those cities, Atlanta's looking pretty good, around 1%. Now, the state average for Georgia is 0.92%. So you can see that Atlanta is definitely above the state average. So I mentioned earlier, if you're living ITP inside the perimeter, you're either going to be living in Fulton County or Dekalb County. Now, is there a difference in property taxes if you live in one county versus the other? Honestly, I had thought that Fulton County was going to be more expensive because that is where most of the city of Atlanta is, but actually, that's really not true. Let me show you an example. I pulled up a real life example to compare Fulton County versus Dekalb County. Okay, to prove my point, I pulled up two property tax examples where the fair market value was basically the same. I mean, it's really hard to find two almost similar, identical fair market values, but I did. One was in Fulton County. You can see right here, fair market value, $446,900. And here on the Dekalb side, we have fair market value of $445,700. So here you can see the tax breakdown, and honestly, sometimes reading these property tax bills can be like reading Chinese. It's just a lot of numbers, and there's different charges for Fulton County versus Dekalb County, and hospitals and all the schools, things you're paying for. So basically, what I wanted to show you is just the final number here. So very similar value in properties, and here on Fulton County, you can see that the total taxes is about $4,800, while over here in Dekalb County, the total taxes were almost $5,200. So there was a slight difference, and Dekalb County was actually a little bit more expensive. So if you're wondering, do I need to live on the Dekalb side to save thousands of dollars in property taxes instead of living on Fulton County side? Nope. I would say it's very minimal differences. So I would not hinder your search to be in a certain county to save on property taxes if you're looking here inside the perimeter. Interestingly enough, years ago, everyone said, oh, look at living in unincorporated Dekalb County. Now, first, you probably are wondering, what is unincorporated Dekalb County? Well, anything where it says it's Decatur on the city, but if it is not zip code 30030, that is an actual city of Decatur. They have their own property taxes. I'll talk about that here more in a second. As long as it's not zip code 30030 and it has the city of Decatur tagged onto it, that is unincorporated Dekalb County. So areas, I tried to find up a map of, where is unincorporated Dekalb County. I couldn't find a good one online, so I'm just going to throw up my own and show you kind of roughly what you could be expecting. It's anything north Decatur or just south of the Decatur area. Again, anything where it says Decatur and not the zip code 30030 is going to be unincorporated Dekalb County. So for many years, people said, oh, go live in unincorporated Dekalb County because you will save money on your property taxes. Well, that is true if you are looking at unincorporated Dekalb County versus city of Decatur. But if you're looking at unincorporated Dekalb County versus Fulton County, there's really not that much of a difference. Now, this may have been different several years ago, and perhaps the property tax laws have changed. I am not a property tax expert, you guys. I do not track property tax rates year over year. I'm just looking at present day, what I'm seeing real life examples, and I will say there is not much of a difference if you're in unincorporated Dekalb County versus Fulton County. I hope this information so far is being helpful for you. Give this video a thumbs up if you're liking it. And hey, if you're making a move to the Atlanta area and you want to talk further about your home search, make sure you're reaching out to me. I love hearing from you guys. Shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. All my contact information is down below, and I am here to help you out. Now, I mentioned City of Decatur, and let's talk about that for a second. So if you are looking at living in City of Decatur, you will see that City of Decatur is more expensive than living in Fulton County or unincorporated Dekalb County. Now, City of Decatur has its own police force. It has a really good school system, so you're paying a lot of property taxes for that good school system. And you can expect to pay about 30% more than you would if you lived in unincorporated Dekalb County or Fulton County. Let me show you an example because I'm a visual person, and if I can see some examples, it just sits in my brain better. So I hope it does for you too. Okay, so here are two live examples from 2023, the tax bills. When I tried to find two homes that had roughly the same appraised value. So for City of Decatur, I've got one that's $509,200 is the appraised value. And over here, this is Decatur, unincorporated Dekalb County. And you can see the value is $500,000. So roughly the same value. I mean, we're off by like $9,200. So it's not gonna make too much of a difference for our example here. So you can see, all the line items here, but main thing, total taxes for City of Decatur was $7,900 versus unincorporated Dekalb County, $5,600. So that's a difference of $2,300 or about 30%. That's a huge difference. Now you may be wondering, well, there's other cities in ITP like City of Brookhaven, there's the City of Chamblee. Are those property taxes going to be less than City of Atlanta? Well, I pulled some numbers, and really honestly, the data wasn't too much different. There's very minimal differences in property value, tax value. So I would not limit your search to, just Brookhaven or Chamblee thinking the property taxes are going to be any cheaper. They just really are not. Now you may be wondering, well, how exactly are property values computed? Well, here in Atlanta or in Georgia, the property values are reassessed every year. Now, I was talking with some agents in different states, and I've learned that different states operate differently. For example, there's one state, I can't remember which one it is, but they reevaluate the property values every 3 years. There is one city in Pennsylvania where they only reassess the value every 10 years. I mean, that is crazy to me. But here in Georgia, the property value is reassessed every year. Now, what they use to calculate their number. That's beyond what I understand. So as I mentioned, the annual fair market value comes out generally in the summertime, and you have within 45 days to dispute that value if you think it is inaccurate. But then basically what they do is they take the fair market value times 0.40 or 40%, and that gives you your assessed value. Now, side note, if you live in the city of Decatur, this is actually 50%, not 40%. So that's the only difference, if you're looking at city of Decatur versus city of Atlanta or unincorporated Dekalb County. So then you take that assessed value times the millage rate, and I will say, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty details of the millage rate because it can change by county to county, and it can change year over year. So those can always be fluctuating. And again, it's kind of like reading Chinese. But just know that there's a rate that is charged based on what kind of utility you're paying for, and then that will bring you to your total taxes due. A couple of reminders, for Fulton County, bills come out generally in September, and your first bill is due October 31st, second bill due November 15th. Of course, you can pay the full bill at one time if you want to. You don't have to wait until you don't have to pay the bills in 2 increments if you don't want to. DeKalb County comes out just a month earlier in August, and then your first bill is due in October, and then again in November 15th. City of Decatur is a little bit different. They have bills that come out in the spring and the fall. So they have one that comes out in April, which is due by June, and then there is another bill in October, which is due by December. Again, if you want to take a look at a real life example, here is a sample of a bill from Fulton County. Here's the fair market value at $450,600. That's what they're saying the property is worth. Then they take that times 0.40. That gives you your assessed value, and that is what you're taxed upon. So you can see here all the different things that you are taxed on. Here is the millage rate per specific item, and then boom, you get your final numbers. Now there is for Fulton County, you get a Fulton County charge, and then there's the city of Atlanta charge. So that's kind of the breakdown if you live here in the city of Atlanta. Now, a couple of tips when you are out looking at homes online on Zillow, or if you're searching homes with your realtor like me, you may be looking at the property taxes, and don't assume that those are listed correctly in the listing details, because a lot of agents put in the listing information and they just let the system auto pull up the property taxes. This is not always correct, because sometimes it's only pulling the Fulton County and not the Fulton County plus the city taxes, etc. So never assume the property taxes are right. You can always go look up the property taxes for a specific address in the property records online. Very easy to do. The other tip I want to bring to your attention is that if you're looking at a property and you see what their taxes are this year, well, don't assume those taxes are going to be similar next year, especially if you're buying a property that hasn't sold in a while, because I'll be honest, the counties can be a little slow at updating the property values at the right valuation. Now, again, I don't know what they are using for their algorithm and calculations, but sometimes they are behind. So if you're buying a home that hasn't sold in 7 years, let's say you're buying a $500,000 home, it hasn't sold since 7 years ago when it was valued at $300,000. Well, as soon as you buy that home for $500,000, they're going to see that new sale record in the county deed, and they are going to know that, hey, now the market value is $500,000. So you can expect that the property value assessment is going to be closer to what you bought the home at, and your property taxes will go up. All right, I told you I was going to give you a tip on how to save on your property taxes, and that is through the homestead exemption. Don't forget to do this. Now, I have worked with some clients who were selling their home, and when I went up to pull up their tax record, I'm like, where's your homestead exemption at? And they said, my realtor never told me about it. I didn't know about it. They had the wrong realtor. You need to be working with me. I'm going to send you a lot of reminders about that. But in any case, the homestead exemption is only applicable to your primary residence. So if you're coming to Atlanta buying some rental properties, you're going to be paying a higher tax rate. You cannot get a homestead exemption on investment properties. Okay, so this has to be on your primary residence. There's some different rules or different exemptions that you can apply for depending on what you qualify for. Most people are just a regular homestead exemption if it's your primary residence. Now, if you are a senior citizen, you might get some extra discounts for that. Just go look online. You can search Fulton County homestead exemption or Dekalb County homestead exemption, and they'll give you a long list of things that you may or may not qualify for. A couple of tips when applying for a homestead exemption: this is due by April 1st of every year. Now, it is only for if you purchased the home in the prior year. So we're coming up on 2024. Those people that bought a property in 2023, you can apply for that homestead exemption to be applied on your 2024 property taxes. So if you buy a home on January 1st of 2024, you can't get a property tax break in 2024. You have to wait till 2025. Another thing is you need to make sure that you have a driver's license changed to your current address. So if you're moving from out of state, make sure you get that driver's license updated, because you do have to have an updated driver's license to apply. I had a client who waited until 3 days before the April 1st deadline. She had a out-of-state driver's license. She had to go down to the DMV, and it was like a big nightmare, a big mess, but she got it done, but it was just very, very stressful. So don't wait till the last minute to get your driver's license changed over. Now, once you apply for a homestead exemption, that will stick with the property until you sell it, so you don't have to keep reapplying year over year. It's a one-time thing, and then you enjoy those tax savings for the whole time that you own that home. Now, what are the tax savings? Let me show you an example. Okay, I've got two real live examples for you here in the Fulton County area. One without a homestead exemption, you can see right here, nothing there. That means there's no homestead exemption here. If there's this written in there, you've got a homestead exemption on it. The market values are pretty similar. I tried to find as close as I could. We've got one at 450,000, one at 447,000 roughly. So you can see here where you have homestead exemptions, you get to reduce the value that's getting taxed for different millage rates, and it all boils down to your total taxes. So here with no homestead exemption, $7,300 you're paying, versus one where you do have a homestead exemption, $4,800. That's about a 35% savings in taxes. That is not chump change, y'all. So please do not forget to apply for your homestead exemption. But again, if you are buying a rental property where you're not going to be living in it, then just expect to be paying a higher tax price for your property taxes. You're going to be paying up to, land I said is basically around 1% of your property value. Now you would expect to pay about 1.3, 1.4% of the property value in taxes. But hey, I hope this explanation of property taxes here in the Atlanta area was helpful. It's, kind of confusing to understand everything about property taxes. This high level overview, I hope this got the message through of what you can expect if you are moving here and what you would be paying. So as always, if you're thinking about making a move to the Atlanta area, whether that's tomorrow or next year, you've got questions or you want further help with your home search, reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. Shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. All my information is down below. As always, if you see me out in the wild, I've ran into a couple of you like at Publix, just out on the street when I'm walking my kid. Make sure you say hello. I love hearing from you and running into you out in the streets. But until next time, you guys, I'll see you around the neighborhood.